You carved your name into my heart. I'm scared to say it.
Jay, I attempt to sing in Matter of Mind.
I'm Bramwell or Rob, and I play bass and sometimes attempt to sing.
I'm Ashley. I play guitar and never attempt to sing.
You like the pain too much. You got a reaction.
How did you all meet?
We all met in high school. We're all like really old friends, and we are old because we're getting on a bit now, boys. But yeah, we met in high school, and that's kind of where the band formed as well. In like music classes and stuff, and you know, us annoying everyone else in the music rooms when we're practicing and that. But yeah, high school.
Makes me feel old thinking about that now.
I know, mate. I
You
know.
are old. Don't worry, we only met each other just about 12 years ago now. Don't worry about it.
So, who were your musical influences? Was there like a certain band or a singer that kind of made you want to be in a band?
For me, when I was younger, it was bands like I grew up on like Blink-182, My Chemical Romance, Green Day, a load of like noughties, emo bands and stuff. But I think we all sort of have different influences and brought different things to the part, didn't we?
Yeah, so I was always listening to like classic rock, and like that was just always what I listened to because it was what my dad was into, and that got me into it, and that's really why I wanted to start playing the guitar and stuff. And then it was Jay that really introduced me to like the noughties emo, and then it's just kind of spiraled from there.
See, I was always more Pink Floyd oriented, but whereas you've kind of taken the stance of talking to Jay about emo and pop punk, I've gone for the darker side of the really brutal death metal kind of stuff with him. So we kind of have that nice meeting point in the middle in his little baby face.
Is there like a certain gig that you've been to that kind of made you want to be in the band?
My first gig that I went to when I was 14 was Angels and Airwaves. I remember seeing Tom DeLonge there and was like, oh my God, it was amazing. I was like, I want to do this. But I think we were already sort of playing in the band just. It's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was around the similar sort of time. But you see, my first gig was Imagine Dragons, and that didn't really make me want to be in a band. But the one that really like sealed the deal for me actually came quite late. I think it was when us three went to see Sleeps.
Oh yeah,
we went and saw Watch Sleeps.
Yeah.
And just the show and the energy that they put into that, and like the way the crowd was responding to him, and yeah, that just really like that's what that is.
So that's a bit of you. See, the first band that I went to go and watch was Alter Bridge back in like 2012, and they were really, really good with the crowd as well. But it was in too big of a venue to really get that feeling of that could be me. So I reckon it's something a bit more like someone like Strange Bones or something, and in a dark and dirty basement. When I thought, yeah, I'd love to do this. Like just getting proper involved with the crowd and that. I reckon it's probably something like that that's had the biggest effect on me gig wise.
So your new single, As Far As I Can Tell.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So this song started off as a bit of a project that we were all writing, and it wasn't. I mean, if I remember this,
it was a mess.
Yeah, it was just it's like a messing around, and I don't think we ever really intended it to be a Matter of Mind song. And I wanted to try something different lyrically for me because a lot of my lyrics and that are very sort of personal and close to me because that's sort of the way I've always written. But I wanted to write about a story, and it was like this really dark song about like a murderer and stuff. And then like when we hit like a bit of a stalemate with it, and then I went through a load of shit personally and that, and then we kind of revisited it, and I tried to write back on what we were doing originally, and it wasn't really clicking. So I sort of added some personal stuff into there again, and like loads of stuff was going on. I was all up in my head and like really angry and stuff, and I wanted to go like super over the top with the lyrics, like just really, really hit home with the hyperbole and stuff. So then it kind of took on this really dark sort of tale of like almost the angel of death and love having a conversation, and love has crossed the angel of death, and it's sort of like, you know, the angel telling it to get back in its place and stuff. And yeah, it's just super over the top and dark. And yeah, and then
theatrical version of our songs, really, isn't it? It's quite theatrical.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It's definitely the, well, I reckon it's the heaviest song we've got, but it's also the most diverse musically, because like the whole first half of the song, there isn't really any guitars, is there? So
no, because it's like when I first started, brought that kind of lo-fi kind of drums kind of skeleton to you, which we then started putting the story lyrics to, which it then kind of grew from there in the studio with guitars, and got a bit aggressive getting into it. But yeah, it started in a much more different way, really, in a much more laid back and lo-fi kind of way.
I mean, it was only when we took it to the studio that it became like a full song. I mean, it was always going to be just lo-fi all the way through, you know, and then our producer was like, riff, put a big riff on it.
Don't on it.
So the writing process, how do that come about? Is it kind of like you say lyrics about things that have happened to yourselves, or is it more kind of your opinions on things or stuff like that? I
know lyrically it's always been, like I said earlier, it's always been very sort of personal to me, because I find writing songs and writing lyrics in particular quite cathartic, which I know a lot of people say, but it genuinely is. Like, if I can't make something out within my own head, I'll sort of, you know, sit down and just write out what I'm feeling, and they're usually shit, but then I'll come back to it and like sculpt them a little bit, and, you know, with a fresh head. But it really helps. And I think like with the songwriting process, I think we've evolved as a band to the point where, like, it used to be like, you know, one of us will bring something to the table and, you know, we'll all work on it together. And now it's kind of like the whole thing's kind of really quite collaborative, which I love, because then it ends up, you know, it sounds like us. It doesn't sound like one person writing from the band. It sounds, you know, like the three of us putting music together.
So it's kind of like a mixture, like say you kind of come up with a bit of an idea, someone else brings something into it, that sort of kind of thing. Yeah,
and we're constantly bouncing things back and forth, aren't we, boys?
It's one of them. Every time, even if we think we've got a song that's ready, we'll sit down and listen together, listen to it separately, until someone will go, oh, hang on, that needs changing, and then, you know, the song could completely change from what we thought was, you know, the finished article. It's just constant development of it.
I mean, we had a couple of days booked in the studio for a couple. What month was it now?
February. November. It was twice then. Sorry.
Got you. Yeah, we're like all like solid booked in and stuff. We had these 2 songs which we thought, you know, banging, really, really cool. And then luckily it was cancelled, because we listened back to the songs, like, they're not ready. Let's sit on them for a little bit and, you know, restructure and that. So yeah, it's constantly evolving.
Can you describe it in 3 words?
Aggressive sad boys.
Yeah, I can get
it. What would you say it is that makes your band stand out from others?
I think we try and fit into any scene in particular. We never really have, I mean, Manchester itself, is, I'm sure you know, it's quite indie and Britpop and stuff, and we've never sounded anything like that. We've always just written what we'd like to hear personally as music lovers, whether that be like our next song, you know, hip hop inspired started out, or whether it's like a death metal track that we've like met in the middle with. It's, yeah, we've always written for us and what we like to hear, and I think that's what makes our sound different.
I'm really glad you said that, because I was just about to add that I think we are very good at writing for ourselves rather than writing to please people. We write to hear what we want and what expresses us as people, rather than trying to fit in and sell for the sake of it.
Yeah,
that was deep, boys.
I would do agree, because like you say, especially with Manchester, it's kind of, I tend to find, this is my opinion, and this is probably makes me sound really horrible, but a lot of bands try and sound like Oasis or Stone Roses, and as much as I like them bands, there's a reason I like them bands and not that band that you're trying to be like. You know, you've got to have your own style, you've got to have your own lyrics and be yourself. There's no point trying to be something that was 20 odd years ago. You've got to, it's nice to have that kind of little influence, but you've got to be yourself at the end of the day.
Exactly. If you want to listen to Oasis, go and listen to Oasis. Like, it's still there.
Do you have a favourite gig that you've done so far?
Oh, good question. Go on, boys. I'll let you go first.
Oh, blimey.
I'm gonna throw out a shocker here, and you two aren't gonna think that I was gonna say it. The night we headlined Jimmy's.
Which time?
It was fun.
We've only headlined it once.
Have we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure we've done it more than once.
Well, anyway, we were like.
I know which one you mean.
I think I know the one you mean.
We were super close to selling it out, and obviously it's a tiny room. And I think that was just at the cusp of where we'd really gotten ourselves comfortable with just going for it on stage. And obviously it's a tiny stage, so we had no room. And then come the end of the gig, Jay literally just jumped straight out into the crowd and was absolutely throwing himself around. And you could just see the looks on people's faces like, yeah, this is cool. I'm I'm glad to be here. And it was like, I'm glad these people are thinking that, because that's what I'm thinking.
I love that. I think for me, it's one from years ago. It's Why Not Festival, purely because we played Why Not Festival. I mean, we were going there as like teenagers and stuff, buying tickets, going watching bands, and to play there was insane. I mean, the show we played was pretty shit, and it was cut down to like a 20-minute set. But yeah, Bromo's bass like broke or something, so we had to like find another bass from another band, and they cut our set time down, and the sound on stage was horrific. It wasn't any of our amps or anything, but what a show.
Didn't matter.
No, it didn't matter. The room was
Didn't matter, because it was Why Not.
It's just Why Not. It's cool as fuck.
I'm gonna throw an honourable mention in here, and I'm gonna say just the fact of going abroad and playing Germany was an amazing experience. I feel like we always have to mention that just because we play Germany. But I think probably my favourite, looking back, might be the last time we headlined Night and Day, because we were really comfortable with ourselves. It wasn't like the first time with Jimmy's. We just played Cardiff the night before. We had a great time. Straight up on the road, straight stage. The boys are going mental at the end in the crowd. We've got everything's going full cylinders. I'm stood on the monitors at the front. Everything looks mega. You're looking down thinking, whoa. You can't really put it into words. It's just a kind of feeling. Man.
I'm missing gigs. I'm getting excited thinking about gigs.
I never thought I'd miss such a sweaty room so much.
I know.
I was literally saying to my friend, I actually miss being in a sweaty room with an overpriced pint in my hand and getting my shoes completely wrecked and just being deaf. I'm just missing it all, and never thought I'd actually see the day that I'd actually say that I was missing that kind of thing. It's crazy, but
missing the sweat dripping off the ceilings and the beer being thrown over you.
What will you hope is beer most of the time? Yeah. And I never thought I'd actually see the day that I'd actually moan about that and actually miss that. So that's when you know it's been going a while and it just needs live music back somehow, without it being like a recording as well, because these virtual gigs are just not the same.
Don't get me wrong, it's great that people are managing to find ways to adapt to it, but it's not a touch on the real thing, is it?
Nah.
Not the same, is it?
There's only so many Facebook Live you can actually watch as well, and I'm sick of them as well. I mean, they're great, but it's just not the same, is it? It's just not the same.
You don't get that air of unpredictability with them, do you?
No.
Like in an actual gig in the room, you never know when something's going to go wrong. Is an amp going to blow up? Is like something going to happen?
Usually happens during my set as well.
Edge of your seat kind of thing, isn't there?
Yeah.
You never know. Could happen.
But do you have a funny or interesting gig story that you can really share?
Is when we played Truck Festival, and about 5 minutes before we went on, I was feeling fine, I was excited, and then just wasn't, and I was throwing up in the Portaloo backstage, literally off the stage, and the stage we were playing was next to a farm as well, so all I could smell was like shit and like just throwing up in this Portaloo, and the boys were then on stage and I'm still in this Portaloo, like just my guts are everywhere, and it was one of them. It's just like wipe my mouth, back on stage, right, let's play a show. It was awful, but the show was fun.
I had one in my head. It's gone.
Oh no!
Oh, it was a good
I think one of the funniest things I've ever had while you're thinking, Bramwell, wasn't even on stage. It was going between gigs. And like I mentioned, we played Cardiff, then Manchester one day after the other. We got literally 5 minutes down the M4 coming out of Cardiff. And Bramwell sat behind the wheel of his car and goes, he's given up. Oh, what do we do? And had it 2 hours in a greasy spoon waiting for the AA, waiting to come. And it was just hilarious having to nurse that car all the way up, going through a bottle of oil every hour.
I feel like there's a little bit of backstory to this. So basically, we were supposed to have a van with enough seats and room for the gear. I booked it, it was all sorted, and we went to pick it up the day that we were going to Cardiff, and they went, "You're not having that. None of you are 25. I was like, oh, brilliant, right. Can we have anything? So they gave us the same van, but with 3 less seats. So obviously we get back, everyone else is ready, and it's like, right, we need to go. I was like, right, I'll sit in the back with all the gear. Well, that idea got thrown out, and it's like, well, you're going to have to drive it. It's like, my car had just been fixed and then not fixed properly to the point where it nearly caught fire. And I was like, my car's not going to make it. It's not going to make it. So we need to get there. You're going to have to drive. Got there, fine. Set off on the way back. Nah.
Brilliant.
Do you have a dream venue that you would like to play?
Dream venue. I mean, how high can we go?
High as you want.
I mean, playing Brixton Academy had been an absolutely insane experience, but that's a big venue. I think like a goal for me would be playing Leeds and Reading. That'd be sick. I'd love to do that. What about you boys?
I mean, if we're dreaming, if we're setting the bar high, one day I want to be looking out and do a stadium.
Oh my
If we're
gosh.
setting it, just because that's something you'll never forget. That's something you'll look out and you'll think, wow, this is it. This is the Dogs proverbials.
It'd be one of them. You look out and think, wow, who put us knobheads on this stage?
That'll be the second thought. Just before, oh shit, I've got to do something now. Realistically, I reckon you're right. It's going to be some sort of big festival stage that we can look and think, yeah, this is good. We've done something here. Or at this point, just anywhere really.
Obviously, based like say in Manchester, but do you think there is enough around for you guys to help bands like yourself out? Is there enough like support, or is there like a community that you got that kind of like help each other out, or do you feel there could be a bit more to help?
I think that's definitely something that needs developing, to be honest. I think we've kind of dropped out of touch with it a little bit because of the lack of gigs. Like, you know, that's not where you build this sort of like group almost. But it all just comes down to social media now, and you've got to be pushing for it as much as, you know, it just being like I've just played a show with you, no, blah 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 sort of thing.
I'd love to go back like to when we were a bit younger, a bit more, you know, sort of naive, and sort of say you don't need a promoter to put on a gig. You put on your own shows and you'd make so much more money. I mean, we make peanuts on gigs, and it's usually because of promoter, so we're not doing that again. Like, it's just like, why would you bother? You earn like £1 off every ticket, and it's like you're just being ripped off. You're just lying in some dude's pocket who's just booked a venue. It's like, do it yourself.
I would say it's not very.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
I was going to say, I would say, having said all that, I don't think the community is all bad. And I think as we've got older, and particularly through studio ways, and as we say through social media, you do meet good people that are willing to help you out of the goodness of their heart. My biggest concern with about where we don't get support is much more higher up than us, and talking about venues not getting the support they deserve. That's a bigger issue I find. Like, any bands we meet now, they're all lovely. Everyone's lovely. No one can do enough for you. I mean, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but people like One We Met While She Sleeps, any of that, they're all absolutely lovely. But I think, yeah, venues getting the support they deserve is the main concern I have.
Mm.
I think, like you say, bands can get obviously support by people like social media and everything, like you say, but I think, like I say, it is a bit more difficult for venues to get that recognition, I suppose. I mean, obviously, there's only so much they can do as well, especially at the minute, because a lot of them are closing down, which is great. But if you don't, my argument is, a lot of ours in my city at the minute are being closed down, but my argument is, if you don't have the small venues, how are you going to have the bands on? They've got to
Exactly.
So, but
Exactly.
that's my argument, and my member of parliament don't agree with me.
Oh, sorry. I think bands our size as well are going to struggle to get like gigs as well, because I mean, obviously, bigger bands are going to want to be booking venues, and everyone's going to be fighting for the same venues, which means bigger bands are going to go to smaller venues, which means bands like us aren't going to be able to book on the smaller venues because the bigger bands are taking them all up. So yeah. I think it's going to be an absolute fight for shows when we're allowed back.
Yes. Endless bands our size trying to book gigs in community halls and all that. So no, you know, village halls for us. Scout Huts, that's the one.
Scout Huts and con clubs.
There we go.
Right.
Not a reminder, the Working Men's Club. Let's go.
So with our fans, yeah, it's been, to be honest, I feel like our fan base has kind of come closer, and like we're more connected with them now than we ever have been, because we've been doing like live streams and stuff on Twitch, which in itself has been a ball ache to work out how to do, but we've got there in the end. But we've started like a Discord community as well, with like our closest fans are sort of in there, and we've got like direct interaction with them, which is ace, because we can just sort of drop a message saying, you know, hope you're all doing all right, here's our latest thing, and you know, we'll have a bit of back and forth between people in there. So it's been cool. It's been I think the first half of the year was strange, didn't really know how to do it, but I think now we've nailed all that down. It's quite cool.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we've you know, really gotten a grasp on now, and even say, you know, everything is lifted and we're back to playing gigs, and it's definitely something that we're 100% going to be keeping on doing and keeping on top of, because it is really nice just to be able to, you know, actually have a full-blown conversation with them, and you do get to know them, and it's like gaining friends as well, as much as, you know, people that are a fan of your band.
I think we've also got quite good at putting out extra content as well to keep people entertained. Like, for example, Bramwell is putting out some food-based content, like his Matter of Munch stuff. We've done a few playthroughs and that. So I think all round, just a bit of interaction, we got quite a lot better at than we were.
Do you think, I know obviously it's a bit difficult to say, but with obviously everything that's gone on, do you feel in the way, does this kind of give you like a kick up the backside to kind of do something to make more of a connection with your fans?
I'd say so. Yeah, I think this year, in a really, really weird roundabout way, it's been a little bit of a godsend for our band, because we've had like lineup changes and stuff happen, and we're lucky we're already sat on some music ready and waiting to go. So we just sort of got this sort of artwork, the theme nailed down. It gave us time to sort of, you know, really focus on how we want to do. We archived everything that we previously did and sort of said, right, this is our band, this is how we look, this is us, and it's been cool to be able to do that, really. Yeah, sorry, I forgot the actual question here. What was the question? I've gone off topic.
The question was, do you feel that this has kind of give you the kick up the backside to get the connection?
Yeah. Yes, it has. Definitely. And like having the music ready and waiting to go, and you know, we've been able to focus on writing new stuff as well and making sure we've got content going, because I know bands that I know personally and stuff as well, they're like, oh, I'm not releasing music in lockdown. And it's like, well, why not? It's been like a year and you just sat around with your fingers up your ass, you know, get a song out, your fans want to hear it, do it.
You found lockdown, how has it all gone for you guys?
Great.
I think that really answered it.
To be honest, it's been a learning curve, definitely. But I think that's, you know, the same for everyone. You've got to learn to deal with new things and new challenges, and You know, as a band, I think, as you say, it did give us, you know, the kick up the arse to be like, right, we need to think about this more. We need to focus on this. How do we keep things operating? So yeah, I think it is just all about learning to deal with different, you know, different things that are out of your control, essentially. But yeah, it's not been great.
In a way, though, I've not like hated it as such, because beforehand I just stay inside anyway, because I'm just like a miserable bastard who just wants to stay inside and either listen to music or, you know, drink beer or whatever. So at first I was like, I'm enjoying it, I'm fine, you know, cool, it doesn't bother me. And then I think the last couple of months have been a bit rough. It's been like, right, I want to go see my mates, I want to go, you know, do something. I want to go and rehearse with the boys.
Just want a pint of Guinness.
Yeah, an actual
That
pint.
is it. Bottom line, just want a pint of freshly poured, extra cold Guinness, please. All I want.
I think I don't know if it's about for you guys, but I feel like as well for a lot of bands, it's kind of helped them to put more music out, like you say, but it's also get from that thing of, oh, okay, we can't do live gigs, we've got to find other things to do as a band. So it's kind of, yes, it's been shit, like it has for everybody, but then you got to try and get your positives out of it, really, I suppose.
Definitely. It's really pushed, like, I hate the saying, but it's so true. Content is key. Like, you've just got to keep having content, and it's kind of like pulling content out of thin air at the minute, but it's forced us as a band to be more creative. And like Twitch, I didn't even know what that was 6 months ago, and now we're all over it. It's like, what?
This one's obviously a little bit difficult to say at the minute, but what are your plans for the rest of this year?
So it was to go in the studio, but we don't know when we're going to be allowed to do that. I mean, it's technically work, so I think we could get away with it. But yeah, I write a lot more. We're sat on loads of material, but I think we just got to keep writing, keep ourselves busy, and then, you know, push online, you know, push the online side of things. I want to try and get us in more Spotify playlists and really hammer down that side of things, I think, for the rest of the year. I mean, it's all we really can do in it. So
I know I'm going to carry on trying to be as creative as I can, you know, with video content and stuff. See what silly things I can record us doing. But yeah, I've really enjoyed doing that, to be honest. So I think that's been another string to the bow of the band almost.
And we're still content. Like, we've got some exciting things coming up, and that we're filming something really cool just before we went back into lockdown, all socially distanced and that. So we'll have like a big piece of content eventually when we can get that out.
And last couple. So if you could collab with anybody, any artist or any band, for one song or for one gig, who would it be? Why?
Ooh, that's the question. That's a good question.
Is it really bad that I got an answer straight to my head?
No.
I don't think we could go far wrong with Bring Me.
I was thinking that as well.
As a band to band kind of match, I think that'd make the most sense, to be honest with you.
I reckon playing a show, I think musically it might be ever so slightly maybe too similar. I'd like to collab.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. It'd work on such a level.
True.
It'd be nice.
It's not a band, just Dave Grohl.
Yeah. Work with Dave Robbins.
Drums. He'd slap you about your vocals. What could be better?
I wouldn't be singing. It'd be Dave. I'd just be like, Dave, just do your thing, man. Do your thing. I'll just stand back and watch you.
Do my job for me. I'll just sit and watch.
I think can we do Dead or Alive? Because I think
You can do Dead or Alive, yeah.
I would have loved to have done a song with Amy Winehouse on one of our tracks. I think that would be really interesting to hear. Like, her voice with our like emo-y, heavy music it'd be interesting.
When you said Dead or Alive, then I thought it meant the guy who did You Spin Me Right Round. Blimey, I didn't know.
Oh.
Is there any information that you want me to put onto the interview?
Just our single that's out on Friday or Thursday at midnight, I think it is.
So that's
so that's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, sick, nailed it. Yeah, just that. That'd be great. Thanks so much. Thank you for having us.
No problem. And thank you very much for this.
Nice to talk to you.
And you take care.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah.